enter that backwards. So using the return list command, this standard deviation variable is what we're going to plug in here to remember the value for one standard deviation in the do file. So it's doing it whether we see it or not. So local, create a new variable, I'm just going to call it standard deviation, equals the R class variable for standard deviation. Now what we're going to do is to create a graph. I'm sorry, we're going to now calculate two variables for -1 standard deviation and +1 standard deviation. We can't do it within the histogram function, we have to do it beforehand. So what we're doing here is to create something 1 standard deviation below the mean, so we actually need to capture a second R class variable. So there are two things we need. We need the standard deviation, we need the mean, both of which came up when we did return list. And all we're really doing is creating two X lines, one that's below the mean and one that's above the mean. So we're capturing two values. And the value below the mean is just going to be, let's just call it SD low, equals, and now we're going to go back and use the local variables we just created. So remember that we saved standard deviation and the mean. So to create it below the mean, we're just going to do it like before using the name mean minus 1 standard deviation. To create the SD above the mean, same thing, except you're adding. So now we have everything we need. We have the SD low and the SD high, which we can use to create an X, which we can use to apply the X line variable or command to everything we need. So let's finish this off and finish this night off by writing the rest of this command. Histogram, age mom, and then X line is one of the options. Again, anytime you've named your own variable, enter with a single quotation mark, SD low, exit with a single quotation mark, and do the same thing for your second line. And bin width 1 looked great for me, so let's try that. And again, we're done. Okay, so let's see. Let's run this and see if it works. The do file ran everything, and because this is 1968, you see the sort of age shift a little bit more towards the younger age, but we see that there's one line which looks very much like 1 standard deviation below the mean, 1 standard deviation above the mean. So I understand this was a super fast sort of introduction. There's much more practice on the worksheet. The only way to get good at this is to keep doing it. Those of you in quantitative methods 1 have no choice but to do it for your problem sets, but everybody else, come to the last session. That's really where we're going to put it together. I'm going to use the example of how to do random selection using STATA, which is something that's great because, just to give you a preview, the random number generator in STATA is one of the best around, and it's something that can help make your projects a ton easier rather than trying to use Excel's 1, not very mathematically accurate, and 2, incredibly cumbersome function to try to get article assignments and treatment assignments that way. So I'll stay around for questions, and that's about all I have. Thanks.